It's time for February deer hunting chores, and you'll notice that maybe there's less habitat right here, but these are some very important points. And we could talk about getting ready for sheds and shed antlers, scouting, which we really like to do in January, and some of those deer specific areas. We really like to go out and check out bedding areas in the snow. Those are all pretty cool. But I came up with 7 here, and these are things that we're doing really important to us in the month of February. And so that's kind of where this list has evolved to each year are the things that we're doing to keep on track for hunting season. A lot of these are just little steps or little activities, but they're really important to us. And number 8, Dylan has one for us. So we'll wait to number 8. He probably jumped out one that I missed.
I've been thinking about one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just jumped out at me in the last couple of weeks.
So number 1, we have been working on a new location where we're hollowing out a small little hunting plot. A lot of you watched that and enjoyed that video of us getting the tractor out. People have said, when did you get the tractor? Kind of like, you got a new tractor. Why didn't you talk about it? Well, we got that tractor about almost 2 years ago, and we use it for spreading fertilizer, big seed, and then brush hogging. We have miles and miles of trails to brush hog, and so that becomes a really important tool to us. But we have the need for lifting pallets off the back of trucks and lifting redneck blinds, putting them into location, maybe a corn planter. So with some top link hydraulic pressure, hydraulic top link to push that seed down in the ground as more of a drill. But we have a need for something bigger, so stay tuned for that as we go into this year. The bottom line is, you saw us grinding that out. We can't wait to set that up. And so part of that setup is I'm itching. Jack from Family Tradition Tree Stands gave us a new ladder stand to put in that place. So we're going to be putting that together, putting it out. You'll see a video coming soon on this. And the first thing we do on all these stand locations is a mock scrape and a trail camera, because we want to see how the deer are moving through there. We already know, but we want to get that on there early. And then we'll talk about the whole setup of what we're planting when in that video, but we're going to start that process. So we're going to get out and do that. And so it's not too early. A lot of these things we have to chip off the list. We know that it's going, now we could stick that tree stand in August. It wouldn't be a big deal. But I really want to that's why we're out there hauling the switchgrass before it snowed again. We want to get that mock scrape in place, the camera, just get that all set, and then we'll start monitoring the movement there. So pretty cool. And even monitoring right now, we just got a 12-point, typical 12-point that came in. He's easy to tell because he's the first typical 12-point we've seen here, and since 2020. And we're going to monitor. He's got big brow tines. He's a beautiful buck. So what's cool about that is he's been coming in, and we keep our cameras running and out of that spot because, he comes in. It's the first time we've seen him. The neighbor had him about a 3/4 mile away during last summer and the year before, just a handful of times. We think he comes from about 1.25 miles away. He's the type of buck, when he comes in one time, it's kind of cool. He comes in 2 times, 3 times. Now he's been there 4 nights in a row. He was in there during daylight last night before shooting hours. So we see a buck like that all of a sudden pop up January, and he all of a sudden sticks around often for a 2-week period to a 4-week period. Well, what happens to that buck? He comes here, he likes it, and then we steal him from that neighbor 1.25 miles away. He starts falling here too. And so he's one we have really high hopes for coming back. And that's one of the reasons we set out these trail cameras and maintain them right now. So you want to see those new bucks. We haven't even named them this year, yet. So, that's how new he is. We haven't even named him yet. But new rut stand. Again, stand location, new stand to put in, or a new used one. And this is a great time to start monitoring those, get a trail camera in that location, and we'll set up rut stands sometimes going back in the day. I'm not even going to challenge Dylan to find this B-roll because it's so long ago, but we did a video probably, it could have been as long as 7 years ago in Wisconsin, where we found a morning rut stand, and it was right near the spot, Dylan, where I ended up shooting. We had a bunch of rubs there, but I ended up shooting the buck that you and I shot during muzzleloader season during the second rut. Came over the ridge, came right to us. And we had actually scouted that area as a morning rut stand while there's snow on the ground, looking at all the old rubs. And that's the exact same thing we're doing here in Minnesota.
I got that.
You got it?
That rub right in my head right now.
Yeah, it was a nice one. It was on those conifers down in the, that was a real cool one. But sorry, I didn't want to challenge you. I know that's going deep to the well.
You got to work harder than that.
I'm sorry. Well, we have how many terabytes of footage? And most, like a terabyte to me doesn't mean much other than it's 1,000 gigabytes. So gigabyte, think of your phone.
I don't even have a number. We have, I would say, like 4 full old hard drives that I can still pull from, that I, could pull like those kind of older clips from. And then I kind of have a couple more active. So I kind of have those as like archival, right? Yeah. And then I kind of have more of our newer stuff.
That could be 12 to 15 terabytes I would say, plus.
Yeah, 12 would probably be a pretty safe number.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Kind of get rid of older stuff. Oh, did it break?
It did break.
No.
We just had an avalanche.
No.
Dylan, you got glue on you right now?
What's that?
You got glue on you?
Yeah.
No, we'll have to work on this later. But well, it doesn't help that it was already hollowed out a little bit. So
kill more squirrels.
What was this right here? Yeah, this was. Dang it! This would be like a.
Oh, and it's Lucky's. Come on.
I know. I don't even know how it fit in there. I think it was something like this. It was. So that's a hard glue job. Look at that. That'll be right there because it already had this big bite out of it. Ah, man. Jeez. Anyways, that was Lucky, one of our favorite bucks. Oh well. Anyways, what a distraction. I don't even know where we were. Anyways, the old terabyte stuff, and this is a great time to find those new stands because the sign really pops, the trees really pop, and a lot of the sign that we're seeing right now, they're not pellets, they're not necessarily deer beds, they're hardcore rubbing activities that took place during the rut, and that's why we're finding those morning rut stands right now. And what better time to get in there, take care of it before we forget, and all of a sudden we're going into a rutting area in August trying to set this up. Rather do it now, rather get it all planned now, and we'll bring that to you too. The bedding pockets, we continue to do those. We didn't start with bedding on the property and working on bedding because it wasn't the lowest hole in the bucket. We have good terrain features, which sometimes hides the fact that you don't have great habitat because you can still hold deer. They can't see each other, they can't see you, but really we need to work on the habitat. So we started creating bedding pockets the second winter. And so what started as 5, 6, 7 bedding pockets with some aspen in certain areas has turned into over 40 now, spread out through the entire property. A lot of times those bedding pockets are not more than about a half acre to 3/4 of an acre because you're going through a tank of gas basically to cut down this bedding pocket. A lot of times we're starting with the mature timber first, dropping it. They're undesirables, they're non-marketable timber. We're dropping it, and then we might hinge cut a little bit here and there just to get some shade canopy down of medium-sized, smaller trees and to give some side cover and regeneration, but we're not blocking deer movement. That's why we don't build real big bedding pockets. So to get out and create 2 bedding pockets with 2 tanks of gas over an afternoon is very easy. And that's why over the last 4 years, we just keep adding. I've had Joel, he's a timber cutter. He's come out and helped too. And what's interesting, 20 bedding pockets, 25 bedding pockets takes me 3 years or 4 years. Joel, he can do that in 3 or 4 weekends. It's a lot different. Get things done faster. But bottom line is we're over 40 now and counting, and we still have some more to do. So February is a great time to do that. If we're just complete cutting trees and putting a face cut on and dropping it, then we're cutting those trees anytime during the winter. I really like to do it when there's not a lot of snow on the ground, so it's not prohibitive for you getting away from that tree or moving around that tree as you're cutting it. And then just easier to move around the woods in general with equipment and saws, chaps on, helmet, everything. But then at the same time, I really like to cut when you get those daytime highs in the upper 30s, 40s for several days in a row, so that the sap in those trees are not crystallized and they're shattering when you cut them. So that means that while we're cutting, we're usually not coming back to hinge cut. The high priority is to cut down that big canopy and get sunlight to the ground, and then we're cutting those hinge cuts after that. You see people talking about burning in the woods. Burning, especially in the north, the lowest hole in the bucket is not herbaceous growth that the burning promotes within stands of hardwoods or open timber. The lowest hole in the bucket the deer need to survive on is what they survive on during the fall, late fall, and then all winter. That is not herbaceous growth at that time or dead herbaceous growth. Instead, that's hardwood regeneration. You get hardwood regeneration by cutting trees down and getting timber regeneration. So it looks really good in southern Missouri, Tennessee, Louisiana, Georgia, Florida, and you talk about, well, we need more herbaceous growth on the ground, we need to burn. Isn't necessarily a good fit in most states in the north, and I would say the north half of the country, because again, the limiting factor is rarely, if ever, herbaceous growth during the summertime when deer have 5 times more than they need. Instead, 5 times more food than they need, it's during the fall and winter months when they need that hardwood regen, shrub tips, briars, and that's promoted by cutting and getting sunlight to the ground. Rabbit huts. Love creating rabbit huts, and this is this time of year. We're just getting into that. It seems like you get into January, we go to the archery trade show, we've been trapping, and then we get into client trip in January. It used to be I was gone for 20 days, 21 days right around there, ATA, and then 10 to 12 clients in 11 to 13 days over in Southeast Ohio. Then I come back home. I don't do that anymore. That my trip was about 2 weeks, and that was even too long. It's my longest trip of the year. So we get into this time of year, catching up around the house, and then we hit it hard in February. And part of that will be bedding pockets and rabbit huts. Ghillie blind. We have a ghillie blind set up that we want to put in a bedding area, and it's on the outside edge of a bedding area. Where can I challenge you to get that one? That one's even sooner. Blind. In the bottom, down by the cairn. We cut that out. The box elder, we start cutting bedding areas out. Yeah. You even got drone footage of stuff falling down. Easy. So we're going to put that off the side. And what's really cool about this is, what's nice about a ghillie blind fitting down there is those ghillie blinds blend in like crazy. They're awesome. So for us to pull that down there on a ghillie sled, we can access an old dry bed creek system that has banks that are 6 feet deep or more. So we can sneak along this dry creek bed, pop up to the back side of a ghillie blind and get in with deer that are 20 yards in front of us, not even knowing we're there. And the ghillie blind blends in behind all of our box elder cuttings that we did in the past. So really cool setup for rut time hunting, all day sits, and certainly during gun season. So we can't wait to get that one down there. And what better month to do it in than February? Because then when everything greens up in April, then that blind is down there. Might even get some vines over it. It'll just blend right in, and we can't wait to get that set. But that's an activity for us in February. Nest robbers. So far, we've gotten a handful of possums and raccoons in our dog-proof leg traps. And I hope you enjoyed our trapping video. If you haven't, go check that out. I think it was in early January. It's a really important process because we have grouse, pheasant, and turkeys, and each one of those are nest robbers. And bobcats get their fair share, especially the young chicks or poult. Coyotes, they're more random, opportunistic. But then true nest robbers, when it comes to those birds, are the possums and raccoons, and we're at war with them right now. So we're taking out as many as possible so that we can increase our pheasant populations and grouse populations and turkey that we already have. Each one of those is doing fairly well, but we can't imagine how well they'll do when we take a couple dozen nest robbers each year over the next couple of years, and that's what we're working towards. So we'll continue that up through February. And then our trail cleanup. You've probably seen the chainsaw press on the side of our Ranger with tracks on. We take that around the snow no matter what the conditions are. And sometimes we're opening up new roads, but a lot of times we're keeping our roads open. Just like down to the cairn, another giant maple or oak fell across, and we need to cut that out and get through there. And so much of the time during the winter time, we're going around and maintaining miles of trails that crisscross through our woods so we can keep our openings open. And that brings up another point that we talk about in another video, but who cares if you're on the land right now, all the way through up about a couple weeks before the hunting season begins. Because if you have good property, the mature bucks, especially as you get into late winter, spring, and summer, typically shouldn't be there anyways. And there are people that will teach the opposite. Stay off your property. And those are the people that might be surrounded by ag and they contain a deer herd. But even then, if they're doing it right and they're giving good fall food and fall cover, Those mature bucks typically want to be somewhere else. There's exceptions to the rule all the time, but at the same time, we're out there all the time enjoying the land, and guess what? We shoot the majority of the target bucks in the area. It didn't matter if we were in the UP of Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, over years and years and years. And because we adhere to these principles of deer management and really setting up those fall properties, being careful that they're not on there during the summertime to a very high degree. And, it's all about building deer herds, building wildlife populations, and therefore having a great deer hunt. You can't have one without the other going into this fall. So February is a big month for us. We have a lot to do, and a lot of this is deer hunting specific related. And I hope you're on track with your chores. We're going to be. And I hope you enjoy seeing some of these little pieces and glimpses into what we're doing on a monthly basis.
Sound like you're wrapping up, but you're missing a point there. I'm up, dude.
I am, and I'm forgetting about number 8 over there that I even drew on there with a couple question marks. So I'm sorry, Dylan. I wasn't trying to discount you, Dylan, but yeah, okay. Lay it on me.
You did touch on it, but this is a great time to explore your property. Get into the areas that you don't normally get into. I think it still amazes me when I'm on client parcels and we're in an area and they're like, I've never even been here before. And it's like, you own 80 acres and there's chunks of it that you haven't seen. Get out there and explore it, especially if you're shed hunting, that kind of thing. Crash through some bedding areas. Figure out where, maybe you're missing pockets or you're finding areas that need to be improved. So to me, this is a great time of year just to get into areas you normally don't get into.
And it kind of gets back to use your land not only to learn more, but just to enjoy your property. And you can do that with the confidence that it has nothing to do with the deer you're going to see in the fall. And we have another video, just a quick glimpse, that we talk about that. What a shame. Look at the deer. People don't get on their land right after the hunting season. So let's say your season ends, let's say you're in Ohio, it ends the end of January. So you're not on your property February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. And then as soon as the season opens, you're on it 3, 4, 5 times a week. You sit on deer blinds on the edge of food plots. You spook deer. In the deer's world, just because you weren't on the land in the off season does not replace in any way at all, 0%, the fact that you hunt poorly in the fall. And to the deer, here's a property that you weren't on the off season for the entire off season, which is the wrong time of the year, but you're on during the fall. Even if you're on there sparingly, you're actually exhibiting more hunting pressure during the hunting season than you are the rest of the year. And that's a really, really bad thing. So learn the best time to get on and off your property. And back to Dylan's point, getting on the property right now, getting to know it. And it's a true shame if you haven't been on there during the off season, you haven't seen certain parts of your property, because now is the time to do so, and it'll benefit you greatly this fall. Everyone, thanks for watching to the end of the video. I really want you to check out whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, Pure Wildlife Blends. There's so much we have to offer you. If you never buy anything from us or hire us to come to your land, that's okay. We're still going to be putting out all this free content to try to help you out. I want to put a smile on your face. I want you to have a great hunt. But from our food plot seed blends, to books, to web classes, to hiring us, we have lots of stuff to offer on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com and Pure Wildlife Blends. Make sure you check it out. The links are in the description.